Hey, it's Mary Foley. Would you love to hear what a coach for high performing businesswomen has to say about dealing with the challenge and change of the last few years? Her musings include the terms funny bunny, steady Eddie, and shine on warrior princess. I know. Get ready to meet Dr. Amber Tichenor, author, coach, consultant, and definitely a solid sister.
Tired of so much chip happening? Discouraged by so much downer news? Weary from chronic crisis? Don't let the chips keep you down. Welcome to the Live Like Your Nail Color podcast, where the tips of your fingers and toes are ready to inspire you to not give up and to keep creating the business, career, and life you want. In each episode, we flip the chip and let our fun nail color with that crazy fun name cheer us on to remember our strengths, embrace the power of choice, see life as an adventure, and know resilience is only a touch-up or change-up away. Get ready for a good time and a good laugh with your host, Mary Foley.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Live Like Your Nail Color podcast. I'm Mary Foley, a business coach for women entrepreneurs who has been slugging it out with clients in this pandemic party. You know, together we've definitely grown and created some amazing results. But let's be real. Aren't you tired of so much constant change and challenge? It's kind of like that nail color that keeps chipping. You know, you want it to look good, but it's irritating. Well, this podcast is dedicated to help you flip the chip, because the power to change your world is really at the tips of your fingers or toes. I mean, you may not realize it, but your nail color is inspiring you to remember your strengths, leverage the power of choice, boost your resilience, and embrace that life is an adventure. Oh no, who knew? Well, I've asked some friends to share from their experience so you can see how living like your nail color shows up in everyday life like theirs. Oh, and they are a ton of fun. So let's get started. Today's gal pal is Dr. Amber Tichenor. She is a female rivalry coach for high-performing businesswomen and the author of the book Behind Frenemy Lines, Rising Above Female Rivalry to be Unstoppable Together. I mean, it's a terrific book. Highly recommend it. She didn't even ask me to say that, but I totally believe in it. Amber, welcome to the Live Like Your Nail Color podcast.
Thank you, Mary Foley. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
And I'm excited to have you. You're a ton of fun in person, so I know you're going to be a ton of fun on this podcast. But before this podcast, I asked you to take the What is Your Nail Color Persona quiz, right? You had to answer a few questions. Mm-hmm. It's available online. So I got to know, what's your nail color persona, and did it nail you?
It did, eerily so. I am a solid sister.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, so what about that solid sister? You said nailed it. What about that nailed it for you?
It said I'm a steady, reliable woman. I'm cool with who I am, and I don't need a lot of attention, and I'm more than happy to recognize others and cheer them on. And it made me immediately think of the work I do with female relationships and the female sisterhood. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what I'm all about. So it did nail it, literally.
I know you have a PhD, which is why you're Dr. Amber Tichenor, right? But like, if I strip all that away, not strip it away, but you know what I'm saying? If I like say, I don't know, you're a doctor and you have all this expertise and training and all this education, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's Amber. Yeah, she's a solid sister. She's around the sisterhood and really elevating and encouraging women. So, you know, you could have just taken the nail color persona quiz and skipped the whole PhD route. I'm just saying.
Exactly. This gave me what I needed.
Okay. So also the thing I want to know is, what's your fave go-to color? And if you have a very specific brand or, you know, color name that you love.
So I am kind of a plain Jane in color. I like gray. And I even did mine today for you. So gray is probably my go-to color. But another one favorite is white. So I alternate those. And the white that I truly love is the OPI brand called Funny Bunny. And that is like my year-round go-to. It looks good in the winter. It looks good in the summer. And now my daughter's even taken it from me, and she uses it too.
Oh my God. The first thing that pops into my mind is this white bunny cottontail. Is that right?
Yeah.
What that's
Yeah, Funny Bunny. It's a crazy name, but you know what? I always forget the others, and that one I never forget because
yeah,
it's Funny Bunny. It's
yeah,
easy to remember.
right. And it always probably puts a smile on your face. So I know you probably looked up what those colors mean,
Yeah.
gray and white. So did that nail?
hmm
Gave you add another layer to your solid sisterness?
It did, and so I wrote them down here. So gray is a soothing and cooling presence, and I have it's an internal balance that put others at ease and pulls a group together. So I went bingo.
Yeah.
And then white is cleanliness, freshness, simplicity, spark clarity with others. So they're different, but they complement each other, I think.
Yeah, it makes me think of the work that you do, and I've seen you in action. Is
Yeah.
that this thing, the gray, pulling people together, right?
Yeah.
Supportiveness, and
Yeah.
the white is helping them personally get clear, like have some
Yeah.
moment of clarity
Oh.
in that. And you have also personally an aesthetic. It's like a very Instagram kind of aesthetic. It's simple and calming. And when I say simple, it's not like a simplest person. There's a simplicity and an elegance to it. So, all right. So I'm biased. I really think it did nail you. And I didn't ask you
Oh,
until
thank
right
you.
now for the record.
Thank you.
All right. So with that information, right? With that, like this fun way. It's
Yeah.
interesting how nail color and these kind of things can bring out what is already there, already the strengths. But then we think about the last 2 years of challenge and change. How have these strengths, which you've identified in your nail color persona and in your favorite color, when you think about those strengths, how have those strengths helped you in the last 2 years?
Well, I think it's kind of spot on again. Like, it's kind of funny how, and you didn't pick my colors. We'll just say that I picked my colors. So, I'm patient. I'm resolute. I feel like I'm trustworthy. I have a lot of women that trust me with their stories and the work that I'm doing, and they're very vulnerable. And so they share some very intimate things that have happened to them with me. And then the past 2 years, using one of your favorite words, the big pivot, I feel like it's been a long journey, but I also feel like I've been patient with what I'm doing to stay on track. And I kept going at it. Of course, the pivot made me turn and do things different, but I haven't stopped doing what I'm passionate about. So, and resolute, like, I know what my end goal is. So I've had to change things, with the pandemic, but I think that's only sharpened things, actually. When change is put in front of you, you either get on board or you're left behind. So I had to get on board.
Yeah. Well, when you talk about being, patient, and I think about this idea of persistent as well. And you keep at it. I know that you decided to actually put yourself on the path during this pandemic party of, I'm going to write and finish this book. Right. So Behind Frenemy Lines. And so is that how it kind of really showed up for you, particularly professionally, is because you couldn't meet with people in person and you couldn't do the same kind of coaching or the same kind of in-person sessions that you did before. Right. And many were in corporate.
I had to embrace
disbanded.
Yeah. I had to embrace what was given to me. So the book was in the back of my head, but I thought, okay, how can I use this time? And I went back to the lesson I followed when I wrote my PhD that my mom actually gave me, is write a little bit every day. Even if you only write 20 to 30 minutes, then you're not having gaps of time where you have to go back and retrace your steps. And so some days I could only write 10 or 15 minutes, but every day I tried to do a little bit. And then, the beauty of hindsight, you turn around and look at what you've done, and suddenly you have a few chapters under your belt. So that's the persistence and resolute aspect for sure. Slow and steady. I was the turtle.
Okay, but
in the race.
No, even though it's an audio podcast, you do not look like a turtle. So that's always a good thing.
No. Yeah.
Oh my God. I really appreciate that, because what I'm hearing is that in that steady persistence, and I love how you also took it down to a small, kind of like a smallest unit, 10 to 15 minutes, right? So it becomes very doable to stay persistent and to stay kind of patient with the process, even when shit happens and things don't feel good, or like, I don't know, you have a couple of kids and then like they're needing your attention immediately because, oh my gosh, being a parent during the pandemic party had a whole nother level of challenge. You don't know what was going to
whole nother layer.
whole nother layer. Absolutely. Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
but I'm wondering in the process,
Yeah.
did you ever forget about your strengths? Did you ever minimize your strengths in the middle of chip happening, dealing with everything?
I have, and a big one. When you ask that question, I think one of the first things I think of is, having a PhD. I used to minimize that I had that, and it's not that I'm flaunting it now, but now like I have it on my email signature. Like I worked for corporate, consulting for a number of years, and I never had it on my email signature when I did that. And I remember my mom said, "Why don't you? You earn that bad boy." And people would be shocked when I would tell, like they would ask, and we'd catch up, "You have a PhD?" And then I thought, why am I minimizing it? And it's not to flaunt it or stand out, but then I think, you know what? I worked hard for it. So I don't minimize anymore because I also think that's a good role model for my daughter to show what you can do.
Mhm.
But
yeah. Oh, I was going to say it's a fact. It's just a fact. Not flaunting.
it's a fact.
That you earned it.
Yeah.
Having done my master's, and I remember when I got done, I mean, literally there was a group of us who went together. Somebody turned to me and said, "So Mary, are you going to now do your PhD?" I was like, "Are you crazy?" I mean, in that moment, you don't want to take on something else. I was like, this was hard enough. I can't even imagine. But because I went through that, I had a whole nother appreciation for those who do get their doctorate. All right. So yes.
Yeah.
And so it's a fact. You got it. And I love that. You know what it would say to me if I didn't know you at all? I've never met you before.
Yeah.
I'm looking perhaps at your book, right? And I'm looking at this title, Behind Frenemy Lines, and I'm really challenged by other women in the organizations I've worked with, and it's had some hurt perhaps, and I want to get over it. And I see, so the topic really speaks to me. Then I see Dr. Amber Tichenor, and I'd say, okay, this is a credible person. Like they really know because what they're doing. Now, I'm not, the real proof is going to be inside the book and does the content, connect and speak to me, but it immediately gives me some assurance that you know what you're talking about. So, and I do know
it's like a good wine label.
Exactly.
The test of what's inside. I can say that because I know you like that too.
I love wine. I love wine as much as I like nail polish, but I want to also let everybody know, if you're like, I want to take this nail color quiz, all you have to do is go to mynailcolorpersona.com, answer a couple questions, and you're good to go. But we want to now dive into another essential of living like your nail color, and that's leveraging the power of choice. Now, Amber, everybody wants the freedom to choose. That's what I've observed. I certainly do. But making a choice for your life or for your work or for your family can sometimes be intimidating, and it can be scary. So I'm curious, particularly in the last 2 years, what are several choices you made that took some guts?
This is a big one. We talked a little bit in the first section about writing a book and how I pivoted a little bit, but it's making a pivot. It was taking the time to write a book. It was really focusing on what I want to do with my business, and ultimately more so what I'm passionate about, which was scary in the fact that no one does female rivalry. It's a very niched business. And so, but that also, when you flip that, that's what makes me stand out. So that was a powerful choice to really hone in on that and, stick to what I'm passionate about.
Right. Well, anybody who has a business right now, any woman or small business owner listening knows the power as well as the scariness to narrow it down of who are my ideal clients and how can I serve them, and the fear of there won't be enough of them, whatever that client I can serve. There won't be enough of them. I won't be able to make the money I need to make, or that type of thing. And so it is scary. So I'm just curious, now that you're this far along with it, since making that choice, are you glad you've made that choice? I mean, you could easily say, "Oh yes, of course I am," because I'm on this podcast. But I mean, seriously.
No, you know what? In my gut, I think I struggled more with the broadness of the other way I was focusing in on my business. And so now to have one thing that I specialize in, that I know I'm good at, that I know there's a need for, like it checks all the boxes, it's like, it feels like, okay, this is home. Before I was, I was living in a house, an apartment, and a tent. And now I'm like, this is truly what I'm meant to be in terms of my business. So I feel good about it.
It makes me think of is the power of being specific. The
Yes,
choosing
it's
and the
huge.
freedom that comes with
Yep.
with that
Yep.
of being specific. I mean, you and I know in some of the coaching that I do that, and typically it is a lot of women entrepreneurs, they want to serve more people than they realistically can. Like they have, I can do this, I
Yeah.
can do this, and I can do this. And so we narrow it down. And then I say, don't worry, you're not excluding anyone. What you want to do is
No.
narrow it down to get really specific on how you can help this group, or offer services that are really going to help that group or that ideal client speak in their language. And if anyone else comes along and you can help them, you just go, great. I call them come-alongs, right? If you can come along, it's like, yeah, get
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
bus. But you're not specifically focused on reaching out or marketing or connecting with them. So you get the freedom of not having to serve everybody or connect with everybody, but you also get the freedom of saying yes if someone else comes along. So, but that's a
Yes. And I know, oh, go ahead. I know too, like I know what I'm specialize in, and so before when I was trying to do so many things, there was a stress level associated with, well, am I going to do that right? Or do that well enough? Or do I have all the information I need to really work with somebody? So that made all like those self-doubt kind of things go to the wayside, because now I know I'm really focused in on what I know and do best.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that. I so appreciate. And I think the thing is even though we've been talking about someone who's in business, right? An entrepreneur or a small business owner, this can apply if you have a career in a company or you want to switch the kind of career and the kind of work that you do, right? Or it's like, what am I saying? It's okay to go narrow. Now, when it comes also to the power of choice, I'm curious, what does this statement mean to you? You can change your life one nail color at a time.
So when that immediately makes me think of, we have choices. So it's okay to embrace change. And like what we were just saying, it can be fearful, but it also exciting. And so one nail color at a time is one step at a time in my mind. And so, you don't eat the elephant in one big meal, you take little bites of it. So I think it's exciting.
I love that. Listen, so what happens? Go into a nail salon and we've all been there if we get our nails done even once. And they're like, go ahead and pick out your color. And you walk over to this wall. It could be like 4 feet by 5 feet of shelves of nail color and bottles. And it's like overwhelming, I guess, is what, it's just, is it exciting or is it overwhelming? You like what goes through your mind, because that's choice staring at you.
Yeah, well, you know what, I'm the steady Eddie. I always go with like the gray or the white, even though I love all the colors. I think they're beautiful. So I think it's exciting, even though I know I'm always going to pick my same color more or less. But I love to see what everybody else picks, because that suits their personality or their style. And so I've never been one to be overwhelmed, because I kind of just gravitate towards the same thing.
Have you ever like picked a wild color because you were with a girlfriend and she's like poking you, like, go ahead and let's do this blue one?
Yeah, I do blues. My thing is, I'm probably not a hot pink kind of girl, and I have done that before. And then I get home and I'm like, those don't look like my nails, like I like it on, or those aren't my hands, like they look great on somebody else, but it's not me. And so, but the beauty with nail color, you keep it on for a couple of weeks and then you try something new. So,
okay, so let's say you've got hot pink, you've come home, you have that, doesn't look like me, it's like the next day you wake up, it still doesn't look like me.
Yeah.
What do? You're going to wait 2 weeks? Or are you going to take
No, I probably wouldn't.
All right. So here's what I love about that. That's an example of you tried it, maybe under some peer pressure, not sure, but let's just put that aside a second. All right. Because, and it could be a funny moment. I'm not sure, but anyway, and you put it on, you tried it though. Let's put focus on you tried it. You gave it a little time. You go, no, still not good. Still not what I want. I know it's not my, and you take it off. I mean, it's simple, but, and you didn't say, well, I have, because I've spent this money on this manicure. I got to keep it on for 2 weeks. I'm not hearing that. I'm hearing this isn't serving me. This is not supporting me. I got to take this off. I got to make a change. And you just do.
Yeah. And you don't know sometimes until you try something if it's a fit or not. Sometimes I've had different colors on that I'm like, oh my God, I love that. And I'll go back and then have to add it into my, rotation.
Yeah, right.
Same colors I choose.
There you go.
That's how I found Funny Bunny. I mean, yeah.
Okay. Okay. I love that. I love it. So, and it keeps going back to it because it makes you feel good. Right?
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
Cool. All right. All right. So when, let's go back to your nail color persona again, which was solid sister, and the strengths of being a solid sister. How do those strengths help you make choices? Because we all have a bazillion little choices during the day or weeks or months. We're always not up against. I don't even want to say we're against choice. It's just that we always have choices, and sometimes they can be like, I'm exhausted of making a bazillion choices, right? I'm just, but so how can being a solid sister help you make choices?
I think it goes back to, which is not part of the nail description, but I'm usually a pretty steady Eddie. So I know what I like and I know what works for me. And so that has helped when, things are kind of crazy. I just go back to what works. It doesn't mean I'm not challenging or trying new things, but when you do have overwhelm of a ton of choices, it's like, why make things more complicated by trying new or whatever? You can mix it up, but stick with some of the basics that are working to not make it get too chaotic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there really needs to be a nail color called Steady Eddie. I love
that.
Right. So, and here's the cool thing about I always say about nail color is no matter what brand you use, if you have a color you like and you want to try it out first time or 100th time, and even if the 100th time is like, well, it's always been Funny Bunny, you're like, yeah, but right now it's Steady Eddie. I'm renaming it. I'm giving it its no, because this is our experience, right? And I think I actually had a nail color just recently. I tried for the very first time blue. Like one of my go-to is red. Okay. But I've been branching out on different ones, right? So I'm wearing blue and I was like, I've never put on blue polish. Let's just see what this is like. And actually like it more than I thought I would. But I didn't like the name. The name didn't speak to me. In fact, the name was a little bit like, don't like it. So you know what? I decided to call it Blue Who Knew. All right. So there you go. But another essential of living like your nail color is boosting your resilience. Like we haven't needed some of that in the last couple of years. One of the biggest reasons that I've heard why women don't do their fingernails is because they chip. Now, by the way, you can live like your toenail color too. By the way, a lot of toenail color. But sometimes women go, oh, I don't do my fingernails. I'm like, do you do your toenails? Oh, yeah. Okay, well, that counts too, because those just have nails.
It's a nail.
But it's usually when they say I don't do my fingernails because they chip, right? Well, there's been a lot of chip happening on our nails and in our lives in the last several years. So I am curious for you, Dr. Amber Tichenor, what does it mean to you to be resilient?
So before I dive into that answer, I'm going to say I hate chip too. So much so that I bought my own little gel machine that I can do my nails in my house now. So
you're taking chip in your hands. There you go.
I took chip to a new level. Being resilient, to me, it's about the journey and really understanding what you're dedicated to and what you're passionate about. And the past few years, we've had to look at different ways to do things and overcome things. And I think that that's worked out positive. I had a broader business model. So now, it forced me to look at things in a more niched way. But also, I don't look at things so black and white with my business. I look at there's gray, because you have to know when you can pivot. You have to know when you need to embrace the change. Even though I may be a steady Eddie, I have to know when I have to look at new things to bring into my business or make my brand better to keep me moving forward. So I think resilience is knowing what you're passionate about and what you're doing, but also understanding what you have to do to not stay stuck in something, which would ultimately leave you behind.
Yeah, I think the thing of resilience, the anti-resilience is stuck, right? And the opposite is what I mean by that. The opposite of being resilient is to not get stuck. We all get stuck, or we all kind of feel like we're not in our best place, and we feel kind of down in some way. It's about whether we stay there. Right. And so, and not all chips are created equal. I mean, some chips are small, only need a touch up in terms of our nails, but a small change, a small kind of thing to kind of bounce back. Other chips are bigger, need a big change up. I got to take this off. The nail I got to make
not working for me.
Yeah. Like you said, I got to make a significant change, so I'm just curious, what's a smaller chip and maybe a little bigger chip that you've had to really address and deal with in the last couple of years?
So I think the smaller chips are pivoting my business, a huge one. And with that, writing my book, and just looking at what I'm offering in the market for the business I provide, and how to go about addressing that. So those are little chips that are constantly occurring. I think a big one is more on a personal level that has happened over the past couple of years, and with the pandemic, but it was with my son having to stay home and do online school, and how hard it was for him. And so we saw a completely different side of him, and now it's working with him to, he's back in school, but that was hard. It impacted the whole family because it just was not working for him. And you think school, work, this or that, but when everybody's home, and you can't really go anywhere, it all kind of meshes and blends together. So that was a big chip. And I think it's one, we're still chipping away at it, but it's definitely improving.
Wow. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of parents listening right now can relate to that. It's not just like as simple as taking off some nail polish with some nail polish remover and then putting on another color. And I get that. I hear what you're saying, but I love what you also said, which is it came up. You did address it. I mean, there's nothing in that you said, okay, we're going to shy away from this, or we're going to ignore it. And that takes courage right there. And I think that also is one of the essences that I see and being truly resilient is the courage to say to yourself, or to say to others, or to say as a group, like as a family, dive her down. Something's going on here. Or I'm not doing well. I need your help, or we need to help. And obviously you're the parent. So you and your husband are the ones that really are responsible for that with your children. And they're not necessarily the same capacity to do that for themselves, but it still takes courage to look at it. I mean, it would be so much easier in the near term to ignore it. And like you said, once we look at it and address it, it's also continuing the courage to keep at it. So with that, it sounds like there is a bit of a bounce back that's already happening because of the attention.
I think it's the attention and him being able to be back in school, but also the realization for us was, okay, school is great, but it was what really opened our eyes, what the social was more important than the education during that time. Mm-hmm. And so it was flipping that lens, like, okay, if you don't do this for school, are you going to not get into college? No. probably not the case, but because all these other kids are in the same situation, but the social and how you can address that. And it, shifted some priorities with our family, and we still look at it. So it's an ongoing thing, and I think it will be for right now. But yeah, it's you have to address things. I think if you don't address them, the chip gets bigger.
Well, and here's what I'm hearing too. Now you and your husband and you, I know you have a daughter, so your son and your daughter, all of you know this now about, your son, and that you've looked around at each other and you're like, and we hung together as a family. We know that now, even deeper, right? So there's these things that could last way beyond the initial problem or challenge, right? And to me, I think when we're in the middle of a chip that's happening, where like the chips are keeping us down, and it can be hard to bounce back, and we start with hopefully some courage to do it, some step. What we don't experience right then is the benefit. So perhaps much bigger benefit that's going to outlast the moment or even the time period. I love what you just said, because if we could fast forward 20 years, which by the way, I don't want to do right now because the last went by fast enough. All right. But just the idea that as a parent, you fast forward 20 years and your son is now talking about that to his kid. Yeah. And he's recalling that. Yeah. That's really cool.
Gives me chills. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, so I got to ask you though something, kind of switching the topic a little bit. I mean, it's still on resilience, but in a different way. Now, in the work that you do, I mean, as an expert in female rivalry, what do you recommend to a woman who's trying to bounce back from a critical negative situation with another woman?
Mary, that's a tough one. And I get asked that a lot. And it's truly hard to keep this in mind. But one of my biggest recommendations to give is her behavior is all about her. And chances are it has nothing to do with you, but you are the recipient of it. So you have no control over how she's behaving. And you just do you and keep doing that, because those who know you, and those are your people. But it is hard, especially if you are the recipient of something so negative. And, sometimes that can be a long-term type of behavior that's going on. But try not to get in your head and think it's something you've done, because I bet 99% of the time you haven't done a darn thing.
Wow. That says a lot. So I go, okay. I love what you said about that. Her behavior is about her. You're just the recipient. So, but how easily we take it personally first. Like we flip that. We go, oh, it must be something I've done. It must be a character flaw.
Absolutely.
It must be I am as stupid, or whatever she's criticizing is true. Right.
Yep.
So for a woman who might immediately kind of receive it and start to take it in, do you have any advice for her to go, whoa, that might help to start to make that distinction between her behavior and the other person's?
Well, and that's a hard one too, because often with these rivalrous female behaviors, they're very intangible and they're very passive aggressive. And so you do doubt yourself, or you'll think, well, she didn't just do that. So if you can, and eventually that will make you lose your voice because you're being squashed a bit. If you can stay strong and really know that it's not you, it's her, that will help you to keep your head above water. And then just document the behavior. Document.
Okay, we'll see why going on there as well. But I bet you just writing it down actually can help you get it out of your head and a little bit with the processing, just like journaling does. Wow.
You can see it. Yeah.
I know that if someone gets your book and reads even more of it, then they will, or I should read it, they'll get even more kind of advice, because hey, you said earlier on, this is a tough one. This is a tough topic. If it were easy, you wouldn't have to get a PhD in it, and you wouldn't have to write a book, and we wouldn't have to, have these more ongoing sessions. So I thank you for that. Last essential of living like your nail color, and that's embracing that life is an adventure. Now, that's a great phrase. And it can mean different things to different people, though. So to you, what does it mean?
So initially, when you asked that, I think travel. And I recently just wrote a blog about how much travel has impacted my life. But I think if you look at it with a different viewpoint, we don't, we're not traveling as much as we used to right now. I think we can always find an adventure. It's that sometimes you have to change your viewpoint or the lens in order to see it. So I think it's what you make of it, if that makes sense. I think, if you're just sitting around, bore, snore, and not doing too much, you're probably not going to have a lot of adventures come your way. But if you're looking for the good in things, and if you're looking a way to change things, or, even if it's in the day-to-daynesses, I think you can make your own adventures.
Mm-hmm.
It's your outlook.
I love that answer. Okay, so this is not what you call the unbiased podcast. Okay, this is like, I love that. I'm going to tell you right now. But I love how you just said going to quote look for adventure. But it sounds to me like just being proactive and trying new things, or thinking or developing maybe perhaps a new skill, or trying a new hobby. There's something about being proactive versus
you're not getting stagnant.
Right. Some adventures, let's face it, we proactively can go after or try in our lives. Some, so we sign up for them, like you writing your book, an adventure. But other adventures we don't sign up for, or we don't know we're signing up for them, like the last couple of years in the pandemic party. So how has the challenge and change of the last couple of years impacted, this perspective of life as an adventure?
So I think one of the big things is with my business, with my house, my life, my kids, is every day we get a reset. So every day we wake up and we start with a new perspective, because some days aren't so great. Some days are fabulous, but we are taking it one day at a time, because you just don't really know what's going to be thrown at you. And sure, sometimes we would like to, go plan that exotic vacation and do certain things, but that's not always going to happen right now. So it's the one day at a time, and being thankful for what you have and what we are blessed with, because the pandemic has changed a lot of things for a lot of people, and to include people that we know. So I think that's it. It's being thankful. It's having the mindset of I'm blessed with what I have, and I don't need more than I think I have.
But you were saying, since you are a mom with school-age kids, they've definitely gone through a lot of quote adventures in the last, year plus with their school and their social lives. What have your kids taught you about embracing that life is an adventure? Because they have a lot less experience about change.
They do, but what's been fascinating, and I don't know if the word that comes to mind, even though I don't mean it as this extreme, they're not as jaded as somebody can be who's been around the block a few more times. And so jaded may not be the right word, but I think kids are so resilient. They bounce back. They kind of just go with the flow. And I think they have an excitement and a wonder that you kind of wanes a little bit the older you get. You're looking at things with a different lens than what they are. They are resilient. And, I think sometimes we think they can't handle it. But what I've known now with having two kids, one's 11 and one is 13, is that they can do more than we sometimes give them credit for. So that's been truly eye-opening. Sometimes it's not the age that matters, it's the outlook.
Yeah, wow. And what you were saying, maybe jaded is not always the right word, although sometimes it probably is. But the fact of, and they're not encumbered they're not encumbered with
No.
maybe more life experience to say, well, that's not going to work, or that that hurt, or that is something that, oh, I'll never repeat that again. They just go, oh, they're collecting experiences, right? And so there's a bit.
Yeah.
I wonder, it's almost like if we could shed, like taking off a jacket, we could just shed some of those negative aspects of adjusting and pivoting and making change, so we can go, oh, wow, look at this now. Now, if you could create a nail color or design that, from scratch, that inspires you specifically to live life as an adventure, like every time you looked at the tips of your fingers, you're like, life is an adventure. That's right. All right. What would that nail color or design look like? And what name would you give it?
So I'm thinking a shimmery gray with a bit of sparkle, going back to, my same colors that I like. And now after we've had our talk, I'm thinking I should call it Steady Eddie, but I already picked out another name.
Okay, good.
So
go ahead.
It's Shine On Warrior Princess.
Ooh, I love that one. Shine On Warrior Princess. Okay. I think any nail color manufacturer needs to keep that in mind. Because you know what it makes me think of, particularly with the gray, it's like having almost like a breastplate or a shield, right? And then the Warrior Princess comes from not only the warrior part, but the princess is the sparkles and the glitter.
Yeah. And when I was thinking of it, I'm like, princess just doesn't cut it. I need some strength in there. So that's where the warrior princess came into play.
Okay, so here's my challenge to you. Next time you get your nails done, whether you go someplace or you buy a bottle or you do it yourself, all right, pick a color that might be slightly different than you normally do that you're going to call Shine On Warrior Princess.
I will do, and I will send you a photo.
Oh, perfect. Oh my God. All right. This has been so much fun. I can't believe we're out of time, but we are. So I just want to ask, for those who want to find out more about you or to reach out, what is the best way they can do that?
So I am on all social media platforms. On LinkedIn, I'm Dr. Amber Tichenor, and on Instagram, Dr. Amber Tichenor, PhD, and my website is tobecoachingandconsulting.com.
Perfect. Okay.
And my book is on Amazon or wherever else anybody would like to buy it.
Oh, excellent. Okay. So just to clarify, just let everybody know that if you're listening and you want to check the show notes later, all the links to what Amber just shared will be there. But for those who are like, I want to immediately go there now, Amber, spell your last name, because saying it's a little bit easier than spelling it.
Oh, yes. It's because it's a mouthful. Tichenor.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, when you look at it, Tichenor. Okay. Tichenor. Okay. Got it. All right. Yeah. It's really not difficult, but it's one that we necessarily hear or say all the time. Hey, this has been so much fun. Thank you again for your time today, for your willingness to share about your life, how you're living like your nail color, what that's looked like, and really just keep shining on, Warrior Princess.
Whoop, whoop. Thank you, Mary Foley.
Thanks for listening to the Live Like Your Nail Color podcast. Ready to live and laugh more? Know a friend who could use some of that too? Then subscribe at liveLikeYourNailColor.com or your favorite podcast app, and share this episode right now with the person who popped into your mind. Together, let's flip the chip to be stronger, smarter, and happier.